Okay, let's continue what we were doing last time. We did, when the page is refreshes, we have two contexts responsible for different stuff. A user context that when the page is loading tries to fetch user information, the one that was logged in, maybe if there is a token in the cookies, and then the context of messages making a request for getting all the messages, and we were successfully saving it into a state, messages. Now we need these messages to loop through it and show it here in the chat room component. Yeah, so in the chat room component I need to access to the messages. That's why we have context. It's like as a storage. So when we have a storage somewhere here in our application, the chat room component, which is this component here that we see now, needs to go to the message context, takes messages. When we have messages here, array of messages, we just loop through it and print all of them. All right, fantastic. All right, let's go inside of the messages component, or message board, I think we named it. The message board component here. Here we need to bring messages here, the array of messages that we were successfully receiving it from the backend. How do you do this? How can we take something from a context?
Destruct messages.
Fantastic. From what? These structuring messages from what? So you mean like if we need messages, let's say this is the messages, the state, actually that's a state from somewhere that is coming. Where is it located, these messages now? If you want to structure it from what? So here.
From the array, from body, I'm not so sure.
The body is for the backend, yeah? This is the messages, yeah? It's inside of message context line 11. We saved it there. So message context line 11, it's console log comes here. We console logging messages. So all the messages are inside of this state. This is the variable. I need this variable here. Yesterday we did actually to get user from the user context. Now how can I get messages from the what? When I always ask you a question, the answer is inside of my words and sentences always.
Kuba posted it. Send a message.
Sorry?
Kuba sent a message with answer.
Okay. Do you what do you call Jacob? That I call it the same?
Kuba also.
Kuba. All right.
Or am I wrong? I don't know. As far as I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's right. All right. Kuba. Kuba says we need to use a hook use context, and we need the message context to import it and take whatever we want. Exactly. That's what I said. You have a message context, and in that message context, you had a state messages, and we saved all of these messages there. And now you have a component here that you need these messages here because we want to look through them and show them here. It's inside of another room. You need to bring it from this room, which is context, message context here. If you need to take it, you need a key for that. The key is that a hook use context. We use context to go here inside of the message context, and we take what we need from there. In this case, we need the messages variable. We bring it here. This is how we take something from a context. So, use context, I need it. This is the use context. Make sure you are importing that. Yes, Lotfi.
I wanted to ask, did you start the recording, please?
I think yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So the use context is the tool or is the key to go to a room to take what you want. That's basically a function. And you define which room here. Is it inside of user context or message context? It's inside of the message context. So I need to use message or import the message context. Message, if I type here, you can see there is a message context here. And we type again. Give me suggestions, please. Message context. This is the one. Message context inside of the message context folder and message context JSX. This is the one. This is our context that we have everything there. And inside of that, there could be lots of states. The only states that we have, and we passed it as a value to the provider, is these two things. Messages and set messages. And you can see, if you don't pass it here, the provider cannot provide these things to other components if they need it. So make sure that you pass them as a here, that provider can provide to all children. Now it's provided here, we can take it whatever we want. In this case, we want messages. If you want set messages, also we can take it. Set messages, two things. But I don't think so. I need set messages for now. For now, here, for now, I just need all the messages. And there is a message context is not defined. It seems it didn't import it. I expected to import that. Yeah, now it's imported. So I have messages array in my hand here now. Array of all messages. Now I can look through it and print it somewhere under this input and so on. I would like to do it here, create a UL, let's say. Inside of the UL, we want to map through all the messages we have. Let's say, let's take the messages. Message. It's messages or message. So you need to make sure it's exactly the name of, because when you are destructuring, it's exactly the name of your state. It's messages. So, first thing first, when you are looping through something, you need to make sure it exists, because if you do dot map straight ahead here, definitely you get error at the beginning when the page is loading. The reason is that for the beginning, when the page is loading, the messages is null, and you cannot map through something that is null. All right? Because it takes time to go to backend, take the messages, and set the messages. So in reality, it's like that. When the page is loading, there is a request is going. So this is your message context. This is your backend. The request goes, says, give me all the messages. Yeah. Server goes to your backend if everything is fine and so on, brings back your messages, and we set the messages here. All right. This process takes time. It takes milliseconds or seconds based on like server speed or whatever. It takes time, because it takes time. At the beginning it's null, and in meanwhile that is trying to take the messages from the backend, your browser behind the scene doing this. It's looping through your messages. It's looping through messages, and because at the beginning is null, it throws error. Bang! Error. The messages is null. Yeah. You want to make sure first messages exist and then loop through it. Exactly. The Jakub says we can say messages question mark and then, or a shorter form. We can first check messages. Oops. Messages. Messages. And end. So in JavaScript, this means if it's true, then go run this. Like if messages exist, go run this. If messages doesn't exist, if it's falsy stuff like null, undefined or whatever, then don't go to do this. Make sense? Great. So if messages exist, we go to them to loop through them. And for every message inside, of the array of messages, for every message inside, we want to create one li or one div, let's say, because inside of one li, and inside of this li we want to print where is our messages here. We want to print the text and the author. Yeah, so like we can say msg dot text, this is the text, and under it we can say who's the author. The author is msg dot author. That's it. Let's see what we get. Oh, that's a very bad tell me. That's a very bad CSS. We want to bring them under this, because our message border is the parent for all of them, and it's display flex, and it's bringing them next to each other. I want to separate them, so to say. I want to bring it outside of the div. Yeah. So I just take this. Before I bring it outside of the div, you have to wrap everything around another div or another fragment, so to say, an empty thing. Because every component must return one thing. Yeah. Let me put it this. I'm gonna bring everything inside of this. Yeah, and then I'm gonna bring out the UL, so they should be different. I'm gonna put it here. So in this case, it goes under it. Fantastic. Now let's target UL in our CSS to bring it somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So what I do, I go to the message board SAS file. Where is it? I have it somewhere here. All right. Inside of, okay, this is for the div. You know what? I want to create a div for that, not a fragment. Okay, like a section or whatever. Let's name it div because I want to give it ID to target that. Div. The ID of this will be I want to give the entire message board ID to this one, okay, because it's a bad naming. I want to give it to this because the message board is entire thing. I want to change this ID. It's about tell me. Form input form, something like that. Okay, I'm gonna take this and change it because now it's now changed. I'm gonna change it here. So this is one input form that it comes back again. And now I'm gonna target the message board ID, the entire one. Message board. Yeah, is it message board? To make sure, I'm gonna copy and paste it. Yeah. So I'm gonna bring this inside because we are using SAS. Fantastic. Now I want the entire thing is the ID of message board. I want to make entire thing flex again, but this time flex direction column. Let's give it a try. Display flex. So it looks like this, and flex direction column, and then justify or aligning, just aligning items center. Yeah. Something like that. All right, it's not user friendly. You can see hi, someone with this ID telling hi, someone I am fine and telling this ID, and you can see this both is the same ID. It seems it's the same user. Also, even this is the same user. These 3 messages coming from the same user, even this one. The last one, the ID is different, and it's telling I'm gonna block you, Isam. This is someone else. All right. It's bad user friendly, like typing like this. I'm gonna bring the ID under or above the text. You know what I mean? Let's change it somehow. So here the author, I'm gonna put it to another tag. So if I put it to a small tag, a little small tag. Control X, Control V. Okay, it's much smaller now, a bit smaller, it's more user friendly. Now I want to make them to on top of each other, so to say. Yeah, should we put the username here in the top of each message or under? What do you think? Let's put it on the top of the let's first target the UL, so to say, and make them display flex and then putting it on top of each other. Let's do that. So I'm gonna target the UL. So inside of here we have a UL. So UL, come on. So the UL is the parent. We can say display flex direction colon. Oh, that's a problem. It won't work like this because they are not child. Where is it? Because this is only one child in UL, and in the UL we have 2 things. So this means I need to target actually LI to make it display flex, not the UL. All right. So targeting ULI to make it display flex, and I can then put them on the top of each other. It's just text. I need to put it into an element tag, like a P tag or something that it considers that as a children or child. Then display flex also works on this. I would like to put this inside of H4. Yeah. So H4. I'm gonna put this inside. It's just, guys, we're playing around with CSS HTML. It's not something complicated. We do. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, that's much better. I want to put the username or this ID above each message. All right. So I'm gonna replace the order of them. Control X, Control V. That is much better. Someone with this ID telling hi. Someone with this ID telling I'm fine, I'm fine. Someone with this ID telling I'm fine, let's go out. Someone with this ID telling I'm gonna block you. Okay, let's keep it for now like this. I'm gonna ask you a question. The reality is not showing the ID of the person. The reality is you need to show the username of this person here, correct? Makes sense what I'm asking? How to do this? Because in the request that is in the response that we receive the author as an ID. That's what expected. That's what we receive. That's what the backend sends us. Do you remember the day when you were doing with Shinhi these related collections and so on? Do you remember populate function? Does anyone remember that? Yeah, Nikki remembers that. What does it do? If you remember, just guess. So populate is, let's go back to our backend endpoint, the endpoint that is responsible for sending all the messages, yeah? So in the server, in the route, in the message router, this endpoint is responsible for getting all the messages and sending to the front end, yeah? What we received is an array of all messages. Fantastic, everything is fine. The text, the ID of the message, and the ID of the author. But there is one problem. The front end receives this as an ID of a person, the author. We don't want that. We want to say the backend, hey backend, would you please, instead of give me the ID of the person, give me the information. I need the information about this author, like a username or whatever. Okay, that's the thing that comes after this. You say that, hey user model, hey message model, can you please, when you take all the messages in the database, you put a dot, you say populate, this one. So the populate means like, give me who is behind the author, yeah? And you define, let me see here, so give me the explanation please. You can say which path inside of this message you want to populate, you want to see who's behind, for example, yeah? And you can say, hey, I want the author part, and there is an ID, I want you to give me who is behind this person or this ID. So you just say populate author, the author section. So what it does now, it finds all the messages and populates it, who is behind this ID, and then sends it back. Now look at that. We will definitely get error because now the structure is different, but hopefully we can see the console log. I'm gonna refresh the page. So ignore the error for now, we will solve that. Let's see what we get now in the all messages. Look at that. Now this time we have the ID of the message, we have the text, and look at that. The author is not anymore the ID of the author, it's the information about the author. If I open that, you can see who was sending this message. It was Izam. And it has one message inside also. Yeah. And then the next message, let's say who was sending that message. Again, it was Izam. I think the last one is someone else. The last one was Okile. Make sense? Great. So the error that we receive now, it's because now the author, we're trying to print an object, and that's error. Inside of the message router here, msg.author to print it, the author is now an object, yeah? So every author is an object. This object, we don't want to put entire object here, it's error. Browser cannot print object here inside of a tag, just a text. The only text that we can show is the username. Let's say take the username out of the author and print it. So we can say author dot username. Let's say bank. You will have the username of this message, username of this message, username of this message, and Okile is for this. Make sense? Is it working for you? What is top? Zile?
You asked a question before where to put the user ID or name, something like that. It's for before.
All right. Let's put it in the top of the message. Fantastic. This is how you do stuff. And from where the populate knows, so if you want to know the details, it's good to know. The message router here, when you say populate and populate author for me, how does populate knows behind the author ID who is that? Because you related the databases together in the schema. That's why we relate them together. Yeah. So in the schema, if you check, we related user to the schema of message, and message is related to the user. In this case, the populate function knows, okay, the author is an ID object of the user. I need to find, I need to, behind the scene, the populate does that. The populate does something like, okay, I have the ID of the user. I go to the collection of all the users in the database. I find who has this ID. Okay, I know it's now Izam. Let's bring back the information. Now, instead of just sending the ID, I'm going to send the entire object of the author. That's happening behind the scene. Yeah. Do you have power still that we continue for creating a message? Yeah, great. Are you excited to do actually? Or just no, you wanna just do it? All right, great. Let's go. The next step is when a user types a message, clicks on that, it takes this one, sends it to like the endpoint responsible for saving a message, and then we receive a response and we show the message here, for example. This is the thing we want to do. All right, so this is inside of our message board component. Then the message board component here. This is our form input, so to say. This is the input that we type in. The first thing first, I need to take the value out of the input and save it somewhere. How do we do it? We did it a couple of days ago with the registration and login, and now with this. Yes, Kuba says use a state. Definitely we need a state to save the value of the input there. So here, somewhere here, let's create a state. Const. Const, that's a new message, so to say, yeah? New message, set, or no, it's, yeah, it's a new message. Yeah, let's name it new message. Set new message. At the beginning, it's null. We don't have any new message. What should I do here? to be able to get whatever I type and save it here.
We need the function to handle that change.
Exactly. Fantastic. Unchange. Oops. So every input that you have in the entire of your application, if you want to take a value out of it, that's unchange handler. There are other ways to do it also. There is one other way without even state and without unchange. But yeah, let's do it just with one change. I'm going to do it straight ahead here, because the only thing that we want to do is just one thing, take the value. So when something changes in this input, we want to run a function. That function, the only thing that it does, it sets new message, and that new message, whatever is the value of the input, which means e.target. E.target means the input itself. Yeah. The input that we are typing inside of it is our target. Inside of it there is value. So this line, every time it changes, it runs this function and save s there. Oops. New message. Yeah. So every time I type something here, it's gonna run. Save it here. All right. To make sure that if it's working, always console log what you do. So new message. Let's see. Refresh. Let's solve also after that this warning key. But before that, let's test this. Bang, 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 bang. So you see that it's working. All right. Before that, let's solve this this warning. Each child and list should have a unique key property. It's coming from line 19. Line 19. What is it? How can you solve it? It's not error, it's just a warning that React is complaining, so to say. When you're mapping through something to print something, always the first tag that you create, not this one, not this one, the first one, this one, needs a key. It's an attribute. That key should be unique. All right. I cannot put you can put anything here. So 1, 2, 3, but it's not unique. When it's looped through everything, through and creating each message for an li for each message, it gives it a fixed number of 23. It's bad because then it says, hey, 2 children with the same key, 23 keys, should be unique so that the component maintain their identifier and blah blah blah. It says if you give a key to each li, they must be unique. Usually you use the ID of a document that you are looping through, so something unique about each document. And we know that each message has a unique ID. We can use that. So underline ID, we can say MSG, every item or every message inside there is underline ID, so let's use that as a key. Now everything should be fine. Let's refresh. There is no warning or complaining. All right, let's now make the request. The next thing is when we click on the send, bang, we take already whatever is the value and send it in the request to save it to our database. So I need a function, so like here, let's say when I click on click, when I click on this button, I want to run a function to do something. Let's name it handle send. Handle send. Yeah, this is a send button. Handle send btn. Handle send button. Let's create this. Const handle send button. That's a function that runs every time we click on the send button. Let's start with the console log. Let's see if it's working. So every time I click on that, I want to say hi. Let's see. Send hi. Send hi, 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 hi. Right? So it's working. It's just, we want to see if it's working. Now instead of just hi, 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 we want to make the request to our endpoint. What should I do?
So we need to first prevent default.
That's a good question. That's a good, actually not a question, but good note. You can see when I click on this, it's not refreshing the page. So I don't need to prevent default, but the question is, why it's not refreshing the page? Because we've seen that in the, for example, login or registration, when we were clicking on this, it was refreshing that. We had to prevent default and so on. But why in this case it's not doing that? It's not refreshing the page.
Maybe because we are not sending a request or something?
No.
No. Because it's front end, not back end?
No.
No. Okay.
It has
I
nothing
don't
to do with this.
have any answers anymore.
Yeah, I go back to login. Let's say we have the login, this is the button of the login. When we click on that, we make sure to prevent default when it's refreshing. Look at that. If I remove this, okay, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to go to login. Look at that. When I click on this, it's refreshing the page. Yeah, that's bad. So that was why we just created that. Now, if you click on that, it's not refreshing. But it doesn't work the same with this button. The reason is if you have a form tag and inside of it try to build a form or something like that, input and so on, this is the behavior of form and the behavior of unsubmit. If you have a form, definitely the button inside that you have, if you click on that, it refreshes the page. This is the same in the registration also. But deliberately, I didn't create this part as a form that to show you this. I just created a div for that and inside an input and button. In this case, because it's not a form tag, then when you click on this, it doesn't refreshes the page because that is the behavior of form, so to say, not the button. Does that make sense? All right. Let's go now. Now we want to The next step, yeah. What should I do? When I click on this button, what should happen here?
Set the new message.
We already set the new message here in the input.
Oh, okay.
It's for getting the value from the input. So it's setting the message here. Saving it here, so to say. But when I click on this, this should go to my backend as a new message. What should I do? Yeah, Kubas says, fetch. I told you a while ago, making a request somewhere you need fetch. All right?
That was so fast, that's why we didn't answer.
It's oh my god. All right. So always when you have fetch, try and catch. Yeah, don't forget that. So let's make a request. We want to. I expect a response to my backend. Response. Await. Fetch. Do you remember the endpoint? HTTP // localhost 777 API /messages. Great, that was the endpoint. I think that should be async. When the response is coming, it's a string. So if I want the result out of it, I need to parse back the string. So I take the response, to make it to JSON again, and let's just for now console log the result. We have to make sure if result there is error inside, then I want to console log the result here. So to say if there is an error happening, if not happening also, anyway, I want to console log two parts, because here then we want to change, instead of console log, do something. And during this operation, if something goes wrong, then let's catch the error again. I'm going to console log. When you develop your final project, you don't want to console log. You want to set the error in a state and nicely show it to your user. Which error happened and why. All right. Let's console log the error. So, do you think, is it correct now? What does it do now? When I click on this, what happens? Look at that. When I click on this, there is a console log coming. There is inside of message board JSX, message board JSX, line 18, I get really a good result, and it's 5 messages inside again. I don't want that. I want a message be saved and I receive the new message. That's the endpoint that it does. But why it's kind of getting all messages again. Do you agree? Exactly, Izam. That's definitely, you are correct. And also configuration, Kuba says. This is a normal get endpoint. You make a get request to this endpoint, and we have a get endpoint for getting all the messages. That's it's doing. Don't forget, it's a post method. We want to send a new message to our backend to say, hey, save it to our database. This means we need to configure, or so to say, change our fetch function to do something else instead of get. So config, we want to say the method is not get, the method is post now. That's the first step, changing the method of the fetch. Because by default fetch is a get method. The next thing is headers. Content type application JSON. Yeah, this is exactly this thing. If I bring this here as a hint that you can see, I'm gonna put it here, comment it out, that you can see. We want to make it as a post, so the method is post. The endpoint, that's the endpoint or the URL. The headers should be content type JSON, headers content type JSON. Don't forget, it should be content with C capital, type with T capital, otherwise it really doesn't work. And then the body of the request, which must be stringified. Yeah. So the next thing is the body. JSON.stringify. So inside you provide something inside to be stringified, yeah, which is our new message. But there is a but here. You need to prepare now your message. Look at the message, how it looks. If you want to save a message inside of the database, it should look like this. A text, which we have the text actually. It's a new message. You can even name this text, set text, doesn't matter. But the text is inside of here, whatever we type. Great. But how about this part? You need to provide this also in this part. The author of this message, who is this person? And that should be an ID. Otherwise, you cannot save this into the database. If you send only the text, let's test it. I want to prepare an object first, before we stringify that here. Where is stringify that here? I'm going to prepare it somewhere here. So let's say const you know what, for better naming, I want to change this to text and set text. That is better, it's more meaningful. Text set text, and don't forget, change it here in the input. We don't have this anymore, it's set text. All right, that we just changed the name. All right, everything is fine because I have this const. So now let's prepare a new message object that we should send it to our backend. This object should have a text, which we have it here, and an author. For now, we don't know what to put here, yeah? You don't know, okay, what should be author here? What is the ID of the author? How to get access to that, and so on. If you try to send only a text as a new message there and don't provide the author of that, definitely your backend sends you an error. So I'm gonna send this new message object into the request inside of the body. This is our new message object, which is only a text inside, whatever we type. All right. So let me save. I'm gonna clean here. I'm gonna type cats are funny. So I click. Oh, it's still a get method. Why? It's still a get method. It's trying to get all messages. Why? Come on guys, that's the answer here and here. Yes. Config. We created this config because to configure our fetch function, but our fetch function still doesn't know that. We have to pass it as a second argument here, config. All right. This is modifying our fetch function based on what we've written. Let's test it again. So cats are funny. Send. Bang. Error. And you can see the error is coming. Message validation failed. Author path is required. Because the new message needs to be sent also the author like this. Does that make sense what we do? Great. So now, question. I need author here to be added. Author, and so inside of the object author, and I need the ID of the person that is now typing. Do you think who is typing a message? This is your website. Someone is typing. Do you think who is this person? Yes, Jacobi is close to that, Kuba. Is the person that is logged in. Do you agree? Is the person that is already logged in. Correct? That's the user. So I need to know the user. Who is the user? I know it when the page is loading. Look at that. When the page is loading, the user context is first null, and then the user context is making a request to get the information of the user that is logged in already, based on the token. Yeah. So in this case, it's Okile logged in. But I need to access the user state, the user variable here. I don't have it here. Yeah, but I need it here, the user variable, this one. It's inside of app.jsx, I'm using it, and it's inside of user context. The user is there. Again, we have a user context as a room, and here is our message context. I need the user state or user variable here. I need a key to go there, take the user, and bring it back here. How can I do that? I need a fast answer because we did it with the messages. Yes, exactly. Kuba says, let's use context, that's the key, and let's go inside of the user context and take what we want. Inside of the user context, we have user, correct? So we want to destructure the user from. So let's take the use context. Use context is the hook or the key. To which room do you want to go? Is the room user context? Give me the suggestion. User context. Fantastic. We want to use this key to go inside of this room to take the user. That's it. The same thing we did with messages. We use this key to go to the messages context, which is this room, another room, to take the messages. Now I have user in my hand. This is the user in my hand. Do you think, what should I use here as an author? ID. Fantastic. I need the ID of the user to put it in the author. Then that will be fine. It's user._ID. This means here the author is the user that is logged in. That's an object. Inside of that, I'm going to provide the ID of the user. This means this is the person trying to send this message. Let's test it now. There should be no problem now. Okay. I love cats. Let's see. So still we don't have I love cat. I'm gonna send. Bang. You can see we got a very successful new message. Author is this one. The text is I love cats. The ID of the message. Still our UI is not updated. Okay, but if I refresh to get all messages again, you will see that the last one is I love cats from our database. You know what? I don't like it. It's the messages, the new messages go to the end. I want new messages come from first. Like, I want to reverse it, so to say, the order. Messages. This is the messages I'm looping through. I want to reverse it. Dot reverse. I think that works. Oh. Doesn't work? First we need to reverse it and then do it. Let me do it something else. Inside of message context, when I have messages here, I think here I can reverse it. The result is an array of messages, correct? Dot reverse. Reverse is a function? Oh yeah, something like that. I forgot to put the function there, like to call the function. Let me do it here again. It should work. When I loop through messages, I want to reverse it first. So dot reverse, that's a function. Let's see. Yeah, it's working now. Funny. So fantastically it's working, but there is a UI problem. The UI problem is that when someone types here I wanna go, let's say, it sends the message. Fantastically, we receive a positive answer. We received a new message that was saved to our database. I want to go, but it's not updating our UI. To update that again, I have to refresh the page to get it, and then where is it? It should be somewhere here. I want to go. Yeah, you see, I want to go, and then we see the new message. That's bad. We want to immediately update our UI without refreshing. So if someone says bye, oh, that's very bad. Look at that, what happens. See? It's so bad. it's the problem of when we set, it tries every time to reverse. It's so bad. It's not a user friendly. Don't do it here. It's my bad. This reverse thingy, where is it? I was using reverse. This, don't do it here. You have to reverse it before. Like, I suggest reverse it in the backend and then send it to the front end. You know what I mean? I suggest reverse it here. We can say something like that. I'm not sure if the reverse is working on the Bison document, but let me see. You know what? Let's reverse it here. I don't want to touch our backend. Let's reverse it when we receive it, so to say. Here, when we have all the messages, let's just reverse it. So I'm going to say dot reverse, because if you do that there, then every change you do, every time it tries to look through it and then reverse it. That's bad. I think this is better now. If I type, yeah, if I type now, everything is fine. So if someone types by, it saves to the database, but UI is not updated until you refresh the page, and then you see by. We want to solve this problem. This is coming from here. And instead of console logging the new message that you receive, you want to update. You want to add it to all your messages that you have. Okay, you want to set it back again. This means you have messages, correct? Array of messages. We want to push the new message that we receive in the result to the previous messages and set it back again. Something like that. So I need the set messages here. The set messages is here. So now I need to bring the set messages function here because I want to set a new message inside of this array. This means set messages from the message context. Let's make sure it is exactly what we typed. This is the one that I need from the message context. So it's like you take whatever you want from any context. So in this case, I needed messages, and also now I need the function set messages to add a new message to our array. So here, when successfully a new message saved in our database, we have the new message coming from the backend. I take the new message, which is as a result, so I'm going to say set messages. So this is a bit tricky here. I think you did it already, and when you had React. I want to do this, and you tell me if you understand what I'm doing. Yeah, fantastic. I'm happy. And then the new message comes before that. Let's say result here. What does this do? What is it this?
Like show the old messages, also the previous one?
Fantastic. It's like I want all, that's an array of messages I created. I say take all the previous messages here in the array and then add a new one at the beginning. You can change the order. If you put the result at the end, the new message goes here. The reason that I put it at the beginning of the array is just to have it here. Yeah. This will update the old messages, the previous ones, adding a new one to that and re-rendering the page automatically, and you don't need to refresh the page. So let's see. Hopefully that works. I really don't know. Come on. Fantastic. It's working. But there is a problem. Still there is a bug, but it's working. It's updating. Which bug is it here, you think?
Can you repeat the question, please?
There is a little bug here. It's updating that correctly. Let's say, I love funny bunny. Okay? Sent. It's updating the URL, but there is a little bug. If you notice these and these, who can say what?
Username? That's
Exactly.
not showing?
Exactly. The username is not showing. The reason is that look at these two things that we added. This is the new two things that we added to our previous messages. See? The difference is that we have the text, but what we receive for the new messages is the author is still ID. It's not populated. You know what I mean? Because when we create a new message, the endpoint sends us back the new message. If I show you, if we have a console log of a new message somewhere here, I hope I have the console log. I don't have. I want to console log the result that you see. Result. This is actually the new message saved in a database, and we receive it again. Look at that. When I type it's saved to database, and this is the response. Actually, this is the result we receive. The author that we receive is not an object anymore, because this endpoint we didn't populate it. The only endpoint that we populated is when we getting all the messages. But when we posting a message, the endpoint doesn't populate us this one. We need to go back to the endpoint, actually, to the post endpoint. So this time this one, because for the previous one we populated the author, but for this one we didn't. So what we can say here, we can say this is the new message that we sent to the front end. We can say hey, new message dot pop give me the suggestion. Come on. Yeah. Populate the author again. I'm not sure if we need a wait for that or not. Let me see if populate returning query or not. Let me see. Show me. It's returning a promise. Yeah, I think we need a wait for that. So sometimes you can do it like here, like a chaining, like this part that we did, or you can separately do it in the next line. It's both. I'm doing it different ways that you see. And before we send it to the front end, the new message, we say, hey, populate the author. I think this should work now. Let's see. I'm gonna refresh the page. Hopefully that works. So let's create send. Fantastic. It's working. It's okay now. See, it's populating now that. So if I say hello class, hello class, send, it's okay telling. I want to log in with someone else, another person. Okay, let me use another browser to log in. I want to go to localhost to this website. So it doesn't let me in. See, if I want to go to chat room, it doesn't let me in because I'm not logged in, because we don't have a token in this browser or for this user. This is totally a different user. Oh, come on. Yeah. So if I go to application section, let me bring all these things down, that is better. So if you go there, if we check the cookies, nothing. This means no one is logged in. Let's log in with someone else. I think Mickey, I had you. The password was 1234, I think. Yeah. Okay. You see? Someone now, Mickey is logged in, can see all the messages. Now Mickey wanna chat. Hey, Okile, how are you? If he sent, you can see Mickey telling Okile, how are you, so to say. And over here, it's not still updated because we are not connecting like a WhatsApp connection. Okay, it's not a real socket, so to say. It's REST API. Because, for example, a chat like a WhatsApp, it's constantly making requests and response when something is changing. You know what I mean? Like the HTTP request, what we do is HTTP, normal HTTP request. And when you send us something, you receive something and that's it. The connection is gone. But the system that WhatsApp is using is Socket IO, the name of it. You can easily do that if you want to, for example, use it in your project to have a like live chat system. A Socket IO, what it does, the Socket IO constantly is connected to server. Every changes that the server receives updates the UI. Updates UI. If Mickey puts a message, it updates for everyone the UI. If Okile puts a message, it updates the UI for everyone else. It's a different connection, so to say. It's not RESTful API. Does that make sense what I'm telling? Yeah, great. Let me and then let's put, hey, is Mickey here? So to update your UI to act, actually, if you wanna it act like a Socket IO thingy, you can do that with just one simple step. When you send this, hey, is Mickey is here, someone like Okile that is logged in, we know that Mickey said, hey Okile, how are you? But still, like Okile cannot see that and so on. It's completely different stuff, yeah? It's not about like now web development. It's about like updating stuff, like a live version of like chat room and something. Because we don't have Socket IO, you can do it manually anyway. But if Okile just refreshes the page, it can see that Mickey's message, hey Okile, how are you? Yeah. Or if Mickey refreshes the page, it can see, oh, very slow. When you have such a, for example, sometimes a slow thing, that's the part that you need to show a loader, like that loading stuff. We need to add it like maybe tomorrow. And when it's refreshed, then Mickey can see the Okila's message. Hey, is Mickey here? Yeah? You can do that actually. To update it fast, so to say. Without refreshing. To get other changes, messages that is coming. You need to change something. Just one line, I think. I really don't know. I'm just thinking if we can or not. But I think we can. Let's how are you guys?
Can we go for a break?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's
thinking about it.
yeah, that's the thing. I just want to ask you this question. We can stop this. I know you are tired. It's too much for one day. We can stop this, and then you can work on exercises if it's left or not, and continue that tomorrow again because we have tomorrow as a review. Or we can do this one thing more, and then we can finish it and then come back tomorrow and continue. You decide after the break. Which one would you like now?
Maybe we can continue, finish this, and tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Let's be back.
My opinion. I don't know what others they have to talk about.
It's not that much. I'm gonna try something if it really we can do that without Socket.io, if it's working, like updating messages fast. If it's possible with the request, HTTP, you just give it a try. And then that's it. And then tomorrow we continue that because tomorrow then the user should be able to edit, for example. Yeah. Or if it's admin, it should be able to delete everyone's message. This is the things that we want to do tomorrow. Let's be back in 15 minutes. We talk about it. Let's be back exactly at 55. Yeah. See you soon.